Sorry? Yes? Which one is missing from the vocabulary? Moderate?
Moderate.
Yes. So this one would be the one. Okay. Moderate. Okay. So let's continue. Now, what happened when you're having a conversation about politics? Probably it's a kind of uncomfortable for one people. It could be really uncomfortable because of your own ideas, because probably you belong to a party or you belong to a certain type of yes, party, and you have certain type of beliefs. Okay. Now, when we're talking about politics, you're supposed to be very polite, but also direct, but also stating your point of view, okay? What you like, what you dislike, and how do you do that, okay? And this is how they do, always in a polite way.
Read and listen to a conversation about politics.
Do you mind if I ask you a political question?
No problem. What would you like to know?
Well, are you a liberal or a conservative?
Actually, I'm neither. I like to make up my mind based on the issue.
So would you say you're an independent?
I guess you could say that. If you don't want to answer. No offense, but I feel a little uncomfortable talking about that. I hope you don't mind.
Absolutely not. It's a good thing I asked.
Okay, what happened when a person, he or she doesn't want to answer the question that you're saying? Anyway, okay, before you talk, because we're talking about controversial issues and you really want to know about what the other people think, probably it's better if you start by asking, do you mind if I ask you a religious question? Do you mind if I ask you a personal question? Do you mind if I ask you about political changes that we've been having? So first you ask, and then if the person wants to answer, probably the person will answer. If not, the person might say, no offense, but I feel a little uncomfortable talking about that. I hope you don't mind. Or I don't feel comfortable to talk about that topic. No yet. Probably in a few years. And you will say, it's okay. Probably if you're asking, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? What happened to your husband? Probably. Let's suppose that it's a private question. The other person might say, no offense, but I feel a little uncomfortable talking about that kind of topic. Would you mind if we talk about that in a few months? So I'm not ready yet. I would like to talk about that later. You're supposed to be very careful about the things that you're asking or the things that you're saying. That's why first you ask for permission and then you make the question. Let's listen one more time.
Read and listen to a conversation about politics.
Do you mind if I ask you a political question?
No problem. What would you like to know?
Well, are you a liberal or a conservative?
Actually, I'm neither. I like to make up my mind based on the issue.
So would you say you're an independent?
I guess you could say that. If you don't want to answer. No offense, but I feel a little uncomfortable talking about that. I hope you don't mind.
Absolutely not. It's a good thing I asked.
So if you want to ask something, better you are ready to get the question that you want or to get any type of question that they want. Because if you want to answer, if you want an answer, before you make ask for permission about the question that you're going to say. Okay, who wants to try? 2 volunteers for the conversation? In this case, if you realize he wants to know, are you liberal or conservative? And the person says, actually, I'm neither. I am not liberal, I'm not conservative. I like to make up my mind based on the issue. So make up my mind is I'm not reacting like this or like that. I prefer or I pretend to see the whole context of a situation and based on that, okay? Not necessarily because everything is white and not necessarily because everything is black. You're supposed to be in between. Sometimes you need to have like make up your mind, or it's black or it is white. But most of the time, situations are really complex, and sometimes you're going to be in the middle. So you won't have to take any side. Who wants to try? Two volunteers for the first part? You could answer with A or answering or not answering in a negative way. Two volunteers? No volunteers? Come on, guys. Okay. Now, let's go for the next one. I hope that you answered this type of questions. Okay. Now, I know you're already an adult. You already analyzed everything. And based on that, what advice would you like to give to the president? So we have in Guatemala, we have a president, a prime minister, or king or a queen? What is the type of government that we have? We have a president. Okay. So what advice would you like to give to the new president? We're going to have a new one. This one already left. So what kind of advice would you like to give to the new president? In general, what advice would you give?
To not be corrupted.
Okay, not to be corrupted by, try not to be corrupted by system, or try not to corrupt the system, any of them. Oh, yes. Good. Next one, another advice? Okay, let's go for the next question. What do you think about the president? Okay, well, we might think about different type of words that we might say about the actual president. But if you have to rank his performance during this 4 years that we've been having him, from 1 to 10, what percentage would you give to the president related to the performance that he 1 to 10? Instead of saying what you think about the president. What percentage would you give? One, two, three.
I might give it a 4.
You may give it 4. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, if you had to decide, or you become more like independent, like in the conversation, or moderate, how would you consider yourself? If we're comparing generation through generations, the generation of your grandma, your granddad, how would you describe them? Liberal, conservative, traditional, moderate? How would you describe them? If we talk about general, do you consider in the time that your grandmother, your grandfather, they were born and they were raised, that society was very conservative? Could be.
Yes.
Very traditional. Okay. Now we have evolved, and now you have your mom and your dad. Your mom and your dad, they were born and raised in another time. How would you describe them? Are they still conservative, or do you think that they are more to the moderate side? How would you define them? because it could be a mixture of both. Yes?
They have to learn to learn how to generations are changing, and they are maybe conservative, but they respect other uh, thoughts or beliefs.
They are trying to learn. They are still very conservative, but they are trying to learn. That's what you're saying? That they are trying.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about you?
In the same way. In
the
the
same
same way, we have to evolve our thoughts, our beliefs. And personally, I think that principles,
yes,
we have to preserve them, but we have to respect if people don't do that.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy. Another comment? No? Okay. Now, let's think about the future. Let's suppose that you're getting married or you're already married, but you will have kids or you already have kids. Your kids will be raised in another time, in another context. We don't know if it's going to be better or it's going to be worse. We hope to be better. How do you think they're going to evolve? They're going to be more reactionary, or do you think they're going to be more liberal? What type of society do you think that they're going to have according to the perspective, all the things that you have seen? How do you think they're going to be? Your sons.
I think that the people will be more liberal in the future because they are basing on other countries like United States or Europe.
Okay, so they're going to be they're going to be a little bit more conscious about how they behavior affect other people, but also they are going to be more open-minded about different things because they will have the chances that you didn't have, or your grandma or your grandpa didn't have. For example, they could travel, they could get a scholarship, they could travel to know other cultures, and that experiences would force them to look the world in a different way, probably. Yes, that might happen. Okay, that might happen. Okay, now we're going to continue with the rest of vocabulary, and it's about more controversial issues. Okay, and the next one that we're going to talk about are, okay, just let me get my presentation here. Oh no, we don't have it here. So let's go to this one. This one. Remember that we've been talking about all these type of controversial issues, and we have 5 more controversial issues. The first one is censorship of books and movies. Second one is compulsory military service. 3, lowering the driving age. 4, raising the voting age. And the last one, prohibiting smoking indoors. Okay, so you already have an opinion about this. Now, censorship of books and movies. What is censorship? What do you think is censorship? If you look at the picture, what are they doing? Let's pay attention to the first 3. What are they doing? One is with a book and is tearing off some of the sheets of the book. And the other one is looking like looking in a video or looking in a cassette and try to get if there is something that is not right to see, and they're going to cut it in a literal way, but also censorship. What do you think is censorship? Did you
They
get
are
the idea? Yes?
inspecting and removing things that they may consider inappropriate.
Yes. Do you agree or disagree with that?
For me, will depend on the age and the culture for sure.
Yes. Okay, what happened when you, in a minute we'll return. What happened when we have, let's suppose that you're streaming a movie and you're seeing, I don't know, the movie in Netflix. Have you seen them that they rate